Also joined by Mr. Elikem Kotoko. I said that slowly and I said that correctly, I believe. He's the Deputy Chief Executive at the Forestry Commission. Elikem, good to see you. Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing very fine, Helen. Good morning, and good morning to our cherished listeners.
Something tells me you've been very busy indeed.
I wonder if there will be a free time, though, but we're managing.
We're managing. For God and country.
Yes.
For the uninitiated,
yes.
Set the foundation for us. What is the core mandate of the Forestry Commission?
Very simple. We were set up by an act.
And also, can you raise that microphone for me a bit? There we go.
Set up by an act, Act 571 in 1999, which seeks to make us the sole institution to protect, preserve, and sustainably manage our forest reserves and wildlife.
Okay.
And so that is basically what we do. And when you come to the Forestry Commission, we have 3 divisions. The Forestry Services Division, FSD, headed by an executive director, Dr. Gordon Safwedu. Then we have the TIDD, which is Timber Industry Development Division, headed by an acting ED, Dr. Richard Jima. Then we have the third one, which is Wildlife Division, and that is headed by Dr. Boache. So these 3 divisions are the main components of the Forestry Commission. So whatever you see in any region, any district, any area, it's all a breakdown of these 3 divisions in order to protect, preserve, and sustainably manage forest resources or reserves.
Okay. Yes. And we know that our forests, they're very important as far as even sustaining the very life that we have is concerned. But paint a picture for us, for those who think, well, why is, we talk about forests and forest reserves as part of the ecosystem, why is it so vital that we keep our forests vibrant, we keep our forest reserves as sacred zones?
This is just to make it so simple. If you recall, when we were in school, we were told that when the last tree dies,
the last man dies.
Simple as that. And that is because we breathe oxygen, and the trees taking the carbon dioxide, which is transformed to the oxygen that we have. And so I'm sure you may have heard of carbon credit and all of that, but that's a different topic altogether. So the bottom line is that the trees provide vegetation, they provide cover, they provide clean air for you and myself. And so forest cover is very important, and that is why its depletion must be an area of concern for everybody. In fact, a threat to our existence. Yes, and so if you hear of in fact, let me even put forward that, for instance, I have come to Forestry Commission and only to realize that, considering the numerous levies that are being charged here for water management, etc., all the clean water you drink, etc., are from our forest shelter heads.
They start off from there.
And so maybe we should, because of the constraints we are faced with, after everything, all is said and done, Forestry Commission probably needs to be given some levy, something for protecting and giving you clean water to drink.
Elikem, you've announced your presence indeed. Marna, are you hearing this? Forest levy, forest tax.
It's not anything under consideration anyway.
Okay.
Let me make it very clear, so it doesn't become a headline. Go out there as if it's a headline. It's not. But I am just saying that, I mean, for a better tomorrow and all of that, the Forestry Commission is the one responsible for all of that. And we have over 288 forests. Those are the ones that have been gazetted and given to the Forestry Commission to manage. There could be more over time. This will be done, but with the depletion or deforestation going on by reason of these environmental criminals who have decided to embark on an enterprise for their self-gain rather than the society, the rate of depletion is worrying, and it's very alarming that we must all be concerned, have more advocates. And the number one people who do this for us, you, the media. And if this battle is taken on well by the media, the problem is half solved. If we get our traditional authorities, i.e. the chiefs, the opinion leaders, youth groups, advocacy groups in our communities, you know our land tenure system. Every chief knows what is going on in his land. And if we get the buy-in from all of them, we will be able to solve many of our problems. And these, I believe, is the new way the current government intends to approach, or is approaching this whole menace. And many programs have been rolled out, of which this is included. And we're looking at short, medium, and long-term approaches to solving this, so that no single solution alone fits all, but we must bring in all to make sure. Education is also key. The purpose of education. I have always reminded people many times that we used to watch Captain Planet.
That's right.
And we only saw it as an action movie where let our powers combine.
That's right.
Air, wind,
water,
chill, planet. And there was Kwame in there, so there's a Ghanaian there, we need to come and save us all. But it is all about environmental consciousness. Because if you watch Captain Planet carefully, it was about people polluting the waters, degradation, and atmosphere, and all of that.
That's right.
So we must begin to retailor our education in a way that will be to solve our current problems. Because the purpose of education is to solve problems or societal needs. And so if we used to have Red Cross and all those things now, the current challenge we have, we all know, is Galamsey. We should be able to be having forest clubs, forest festivals, poems and recitals, rhymes and all that related to that. It is conscientizing the young ones from the very early age. So when even they go home, they can preach to their parents, their relatives, or their uncles who may be involved or are considering that option of degradation, and that alone can have some impact. It takes a process.
That's right.
And the person who is already now preaching that knows that as he is growing, there's no way he would want to do that.
We need to bring back Captain Planet, or in fact make our own, because I mean we started watching them, and at the time it was something to enjoy on a Sunday. But
every Sunday 6 o'clock or 6:30.
It's bringing back some memories. There was a lot of pollution going on. Captain Planet will gather the troops.
Captain Pollution will go and do the things, and then
you see, Captain Planet will go and solve the issues,
and we rescue the situation. But Elikem, I just want to stay on the topic of the forestry levy. Yes, it's not been mooted, but it's a conversation, I'm sure, that started at the commission and possibly.
Oh, it's not a conversation. It is something I'm just thinking of as a new entrant into the commission, because I feel that the commission is constrained with. I mean, every agency is constrained no matter what. But if some of these measures are put in place and adequate efficiency or effectiveness is rolled out, it will be worth the salt. And everybody, if you're paying 50 cedis, and this is not to do politics, but I'm sure you agree with me that for some time now, many have not complained much about fuel prices, because we have seen it rise to about 23 cedis per litre, and now it is at 14, 13 thereabout. So to the average Ghanaian, that is a bit manageable for now. And so even if there's a levy, which is to tighten our belts for a moment to stabilize it, everybody is seeing the fruit of that. And therefore, I am convinced that if I'm paying 1 cedi extra and it will improve stuff for me, I would want to make sure I do that. And it's all for good living anyways. Yes.
Certainly. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. We're talking about Galamsey. It's the hottest topic at the moment. Elikem, from where you sit, if you were to assess your government's efforts as far as combating Galamsey is concerned, an honest assessment, let's say a score out of 10, what would you rate the efforts from the top of the year up until now?
God be my witness, I will give President Mahama and the regime 70%. 70%, not to mean that we are all through that achievement, but the level of commitment, political will, and programs being rolled out. And now let me give a little detail on all of this.
Okay.
You recall when in the previous regime, let me start from President Nana Akufo-Addo, who promised that he was going to put his presidency on the line in the combat.
Yes, he said he was prepared to put his presidency on the line.
So you see English. He said he was prepared, but he didn't tell us that he was going to do so. So even though he was prepared, to the best of my knowledge, he failed to put his presidency on the line. Because at the time he said these things, they at a point put a ban on mining.
Yeah.
That was the same time they were issuing out licenses like confetti. And the kind of licenses they were issuing did not meet the full standards. So somebody's giving the prospecting license, he goes and jumps into the bush and he starts. He hasn't gotten EPA permit yet, he hasn't gotten Minerals Commission permit, or he hasn't gotten the water resources and all. So they were just doing all this. Secondly, at the same time when there was a ban,
if you recall very well, it was the time when Ghana's gold production or export went highest. And what does that tell you? It meant that the thing was thriving. We were only trying to cover the surface. Now, there were numerous videos of the actors who were involved, political actors who were actively involved, i.e. Charles BCU, Professor Frimpong Boateng's report, the gold mafia, and all of that traced to the presidency, which was what informed some personalities at a point to now refer to the seat of government as Julobi House and all of that. Now, fast forward. People were also calling for, let me say this so that before you ask me, we're calling for state of emergency to be declared at the time. Why were they saying so? Because a few things were not right. About 44 of our forest reserves were breached. 28 were breached more prevalent, or 29, sorry. And out of that, 9 were declared red zones. No-go area for even the Forestry Commission. They were taken over by these criminal gangs. 9.
And these are armed people.
Yes, 9. Then, so all of these people felt that, look, the president said he was prepared, but they're not seeing him put his presidency on the line. So please do a declaration of state of emergency and all of that. Good. Then now, a new sheriff came to town. And the very moment he took over office, he's not only showing the political will, but the first statement he made towards Galamsey is to say that no more new licenses to anybody.
Right.
Till date. So no new license to anybody to go and do anything, number one. Number two, his sector minister, Honorable Emmanuel Amakofibua, also kicked in motion before then. The second thing is that the 9 red zones were reclaimed by this regime and turned to green. You recall we saw some of those structures that were pulled down and Abrewa Ninkrang and all those places and all of that. So that's the second achievement. Then thirdly, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Member of Parliament for Elembele, and then caretaker Minister for Environment, Science and Technology, kicked in motion a letter to the Attorney General asking for a consideration of repeal of the LI 2462. What is the LI 2462 talking about? The main problem over there is that because the previous regime had a majority in Parliament, what they did was that out of greed, they pushed through their will that everybody, you can be given a license to go into the forest reserves and mine. And that was a major disaster. So that has been a major concern for many of us. Right. And so this was why the minister also kicked in motion a consideration of a repeal of that. He is taking that action. As I speak with you, he has again gone further to declare water bodies and forest reserves security zones. And you and I know what that means. It means that before you go there or have access or find yourself there, you must have very good enough reason. If not, when the security men find you there, you face the law. But you see, having declared those places security zones also means that men in uniform will be deployed there for the protection of those security zones.
They are stationed there.
They will be deployed there, stationed there permanently on rotational basis. The rotational basis is even to avoid familiarity with the community, in the community around, and all of that, and all of that. Because some of the illegal miners, they are also advancing. For instance, some of them are even the ones installing chiefs. I mean, it's money, yeah.
What an interesting angle.
So they install some local chiefs who then become so that's why the chieftaincy issues are rising also. Then they have control over them and all of that. But we do not want to look at it politically. We don't want to approach it politically. We want the NIMOS, which is also another task force which has been set up by the minister, to now become the sole agency or the sole institute that will fight the canker. In the past, we've had so many task forces. Some, I am sorry, but to say, may not be sanctioned and were not doing things properly. And we had some rumors of what they were doing, either extorting or what have you. Minister said, look, I want to take full responsibility for fighting this canker. Right. I'm setting up National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, NIMOS, headed by Colonel Dominic Bua. So anybody else doing anything, calling himself or herself a task force or whatever, it's illegal. That will not be allowed at all. It is to allow for proper collaboration and coordination of the efforts of the military men, the immigration officers, the policemen, the NACOC and NSB, and all those people who are involved in this fight.
That's why we saw, because I know you were in the forest when you assumed office early on. Hanabisu as well was in the forest. The police as well were in the forest, and there were different groups which were going around.
Uncoordinated. And so we now want to make sure that for any action you want to take, any tip off you hear, you reach out to the NIMOS, you reach out to us, then we can tip off NIMOS and they act on it.
Does that mean that the Forestry Commission is a part of NIMOS?
Yes, the Forestry Commission it's working closely with NIMOS. As I speak with you, there's another serious operation going on, but where it is going on, I cannot tell you. But in about maybe an hour or two, that information I'll share with you later, because there's going to be another massive operation. It's ongoing as I speak.
Have we found another Brewaning crime?
Yeah, there are a lot of this. And so we want to train our men. Over the weekend, the first batch of 325 of those had their training session. The minister was there to address them. And so they will be deployed to these places. Don't forget, we also have the water guards. We also have the IRCOMS there, which is Responsible Corporate Mining and Skills Development Program, aimed at ensuring that these small-scale miners who can put themselves together to do something as a cooperative and be supported by government in one way or the other can do so. Don't forget, it is in line of the launch of that program that we lost 8 of our gallant citizens.
That's right.
3 crewmen for the Ghana Armed Forces and 5 others. The late Dr. Omani Boama, Minister of Defense, Honorable Murtala Mohammed, Dr. Sapon, and the others. And so we need to fight this canker. And I trust President Mahama to walk the talk. The same way he confronted the era of Doomsaw and said he will fix it, he made sure he did that. I am convinced, and I am so proud, based on what I know, that when I sit in front of you, I can tell you that in the next 1 year or maximum 2 years, you will see very significant improvement, first and foremost, in our water bodies. But you see, it is not only about the cleanliness you see of the water.
Right.
It can be very clean, which is only to tell you that the turbidity has dropped. But then the heavy metals in there now need to be treated, and that takes some time. So it is the reason why we need to embark on a lot of strong advocacy to educate the people. I make this example of a young man who is an illegal miner. A video went viral where his champagne was burnt. He ran bare-chested to the machine and said, "Oh, and John Mahama, I buy it tomorrow. Now will be the old bear in here. Why buy shame machine and yes, message of fraud." You see, somebody like that, he's not bothered by the machine that has been burnt. He's not bothered about the environment. He's just an illiterate, an ill-informed person who thinks he's doing business and is being stopped, and that's his livelihood. So such persons need to be well educated. Right. We cannot also rule out the fact that somebody is doing a job that gets him 1,000 cedis a day. How much do you and I get paid a whole month? He's making 1,000 cedis a day, or 2,000 cedis a day.
It's so lucrative.
That is it. And you want to now prefer an alternative that would be like 1,000 cedis a month or 2. It's not easy. But when you get people through constant education and awareness, they come to realize that they cannot put self ahead of all. And therefore, there's a need for us, which is why we need to look at the short, medium, and long term. If we are educating the young ones now in primary to have poetry recitals, rhymes, and all forest festivals, forest clubs, just like we used to have Red Cross, wildlife, and all these things, they are conscientizing themselves. They'll go home and then some will definitely find a nice way and tell their uncle, "What's the Galamsey? No." The teacher say, "They." And little by little, we are all forming the narrative. And so the other mandate that the minister has given to NIMOS is that in order for this whole thing not to be politicized, instead of the politician going to meet the chiefs and say, "Oh, we've seen this here, please, can you do this?" Then there will be calls here and there. The minister has told the NIMOS that, look, there is no bigger man than than the president. And so anybody who comes to you saying a call from above, there's a big man, there's no bigger man. The biggest man is the president, who is the one empowering you to do so.
Right.
So he also empowered them further, that when you go to communities of this nature, reach out to the traditional authorities, i.e. the chiefs, the opinion leaders, etc. I made mention of, and tell them, okay, we have found that there are some activities of illegal mining going on. A, B, C, D. Are you aware? If you are aware, kindly get word to them all to halt. We are giving maybe 24 hours, 48 hours, all that. If they do not, we will be forced or compelled to now move in. This makes it devoid of political interference, where it will not be that it's Elikem who is known to be NDC, or it's another person who is known to be MPP who is coming to tell them this, then they can make a call to somebody. It's the military, and you cannot take it away from them. The most disciplined institution in this world is the military. If they fail us, then we are a banana republic.
Well, certainly. We know that on Friday, the president will be meeting with our eco-CSOs, and so we're keenly looking forward to how that conversation is going to go. I know that you scored the efforts of the government 7 out of 10, 70%. If you listen to certain eco-CSOs, they would rate it at 30%. So we'll see if there's an improvement in that mark. Ultimately, we will measure the success of the fight against what we see as far as the water, not even just the turbidity levels, but whether or not we're still ingesting heavy metal, cyanide, and the rest. But I wanted to ask quickly as well, for the Forestry Commission, what specific resources would you say, both logistical and human, would improve your fight? You say, every agency is lacking a bit, but in an ideal world, what do you really need to go in there and fight?
So if you ask me, as a new entrant into the Forestry Commission, for instance, the first thing I will tell you is this. It is because of my patriotism I'm telling you this. If you go to our neighboring countries, the forestry services are most of them, if not all, are actually a detachment or military men, because our forests and water bodies are considered national assets. If I would be happy, even if tomorrow I hear the president say that all civilians, everybody should vacate the Forestry Commission, and I'm deploying full military to now man or run the Forestry Commission, so that it is no longer even going to be taking only 9 months and all that. They are military fully in charge, so military can deploy. Already the major challenge we face is human resource as well. We do not have, you have maybe one forest ranger or 2 taking care of maybe a radius of maybe 10 kilometers or 15 and all that. It is almost on
foot.
Yes, and so the challenges are there. And so we are looking forward to even having some engagements with even the YEA, Malik Basintale, to see what from next year we'll do to shore up those numbers as well, to give to us the ability to protect our forest reserves and our water bodies. And of the blue water guards as well too.
Right.
That are significantly doing their best to make sure they do that. On Thursday or Friday, some gang of 9 criminals were also arrested again in the Ahiafutu enclave.
Right. We saw that.
They were brought to Accra 2 days ago and have been split to various police stations. And the minister has made a call to the Attorney General to ensure that this prosecution begins immediately. So the docket is being prepared in order to serve as a major deterrent to those who are finding themselves in that enterprise, who think, I know some big person, I know that person, and it will not work this time around, because we must care about all of us. And I have been saying one thing, that you may live in the Volta region and think your water is clean, but there's a way the contaminated water finds its way into your clean water. It's just that you don't see the heavy metals and the pollution. So these are things of national interest and concern to all of us. We must be able to champion it. The reason I gave the regime the 70% is because there's that show of political will. It is very critical. You will not have any appointee of President Mahama trying to dare to want to engage in this enterprise. As I speak with you, if anybody is found, there's no way there's going to be, I am sorry, please, I beg, and all that. You will be named and shamed. You will be named and shamed. And if you're found anywhere close, you see, the president he has a 4-year term. He knows he must leave a legacy. He knows he must leave a legacy for the NDC to ride on if we need to look beyond. And so he knows the Herculean task on his head. Many have also said, I've heard those on the other side say that Galamsey cost them the elections. It is not true. The people who are involved in Galamsey are not more than those who are not involved in Galamsey.
Right.
The people involved in Galamsey who vote are not more than those who are against or for a clean water. And so if only you fight this willingly, the people of Ghana will rather even reward you with another 10 years to say, look, you confronted this canker head on, you nipped it in the bud, and we are rewarding you. And so the regime feels that there's the need to fight this canker and defeat it once and for all, especially that it poses an existential threat to you, myself, and future generations. The birth defects we are talking about and all of that also become a cyclical thing that has a major burden on our health budget.
That's right.
And so the water bodies get compromised. Aquatic life is destroyed. It finds itself, the water is now totally compromised too. Then soil fertility is further affected. The crop yield equally now becomes something not good to write home about. And that is something we will consume. I was in Obuasi on the day of the launch of ARCOM's DEP. And I recall I went by the roadside to buy roasted corn. And it looked very malnourished. And so
the corn looked malnourished.
Very malnourished, you could tell. Yeah, very, very small. And
that's a very interesting revelation.
And so it didn't occur to me initially that, then later one of my friends, Casey, was like, Chief, do you see that the effect of the things? I said, oh, yeah. So you see. But the people, they have no choice. That is what they have. So we must be able to protect them. And don't forget that the majority, that is why education is very key. We need to improve on education. When people become aware and advocacy is intensified, they all now see the need to embrace a certain culture. So somebody will say, yeah, go there to our band and but we need to. I have lived in Takwa. My dad worked as an engineer with Terebe Goldfields. Right. And I lived in Takwa for 3 years before Elubo for 1 year. And in Takwa, nobody drinks rainwater in Takwa. You virtually have no use for rainwater in Takwa because of the heavy explosions and that explosives that are used in mining and all that. Anytime it rains in Takwa, you will not notice, but just put a white handkerchief or towel in the rain. Let it finish raining. You'll see the whole towel turn black. So it will not be healthy for you. Maybe you can try to use it to wash or do some other things, but even that, look at it. So there's need for us to all see how best we can approach this.
But as a citizen of the land, how does it make you feel when you hear from experts when they report on things like finding heavy metal residue in our fruits, vegetables, even in certain parts of the country, even in the air as you're breathing? Does that shake you to your core? Because I'll be honest with you, every time we talk about it, I say to myself, am I just galloping to my grave because the water is contaminated, the fruits are contaminated, the vegetables are contaminated, the air I'm breathing is contaminated?
And yourself, you are not even a strong person because everybody can never be assured of it. And you see, there's a principle I hold in life that from the very day you are born, it is a journey to death.
That's right.
But it does not mean that it should be a reckless, stupid, pardon my French, stupid death. And so I worry. I recall there was one time I had a conversation with a member of parliament for Medina, Honorable Francis Xavier Soso.
Right.
And he made me know he was trying to measure the air quality in his constituency. And I saw something like that at a gadget installed at one of the malls and all, some vantage places. And so the air quality, I'm sure we'll need the experts to do so for us, but I'm sure it's also not the best. But talking about the food crops and all of that, I worry.
Because you like fufu.
I love fufu, and I eat a lot of veggies and fruits and all this. But even as you think that is what doctors recommend you take, it is what is supposed to be keeping you alive. But if care is not taken, based on the pollutants and all what is going on, it is rather what may be killing us.
That's right.
So now you're buying even fruit, pawpaw or orange or pineapple, you don't know where it's coming from. They tell you that too much meat is not good, so you want to buy fish. You don't know where this fish is coming from. So it's a nightmare. And I worry more for two things. I'm a young person who wants to live and cross 82. I am a parent who has kids. If I am not concerned about the mess going on somewhere, maybe, God forbid, my daughter could be denied a husband tomorrow by virtue of the fact that child who was born with defect or who passed away as a result of something in the mine area would have been the one who would have grown up and have met my daughter somewhere else and they would have married. My son maybe would have not gotten a job if he grows for maybe 5 years before eventually. And that delay would have been because someone would have been the one who would have been alive or would have gotten there provided that job. So there's a way it can affect all of us that we have not thought of. And those are the things I think about, for which reason I'm forthright in talking about this, and I've made it a strong case to appeal to our traditional authorities, to appeal to the media, that we all need to embrace this. It is not only about criticism. Look, if there's anybody who welcomes criticism, I'm sure you agree with me, it is this regime. All of us follow in the line of our leader, His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama. Right. He has never shied away from criticism. It will build him. But criticism without preferring solutions or just criticizing, that becomes a questionable one. So we all need to build this country together. There's no way running away from the fact that there's a little of politics involved. It is why my first statement to you is to tell you that there is the political will demonstrated by the leader himself, and the sector minister has also demonstrated the same. And he didn't hesitate when he had to write to the Attorney General to kick in motion the consideration of a repeal of the LI 2462, because that was allowing people to just go into our forest reserves, and they were mining and doing all this degradation. And guess what? Whilst we are talking about Galamsey, the major problem for Forestry Commission in the past decade, 2 decades ago, was not about Galamsey. It was about illegal logging.
Rosewood.
The Rosewood and all of that.
Is a question I was going to ask.
But you see, now we have all drifted attention from that. And
that is something to still worry about.
And that is still something to worry about. Okay. There are a lot of guys out there who are felling trees illegally and trying to find ways to cut corners. And so, even though attention has drifted a bit, it is because of the magnitude of the Galamsey effect on us. But as they are cutting the trees also, the last tree dies, the last man dies. So we need to again be able to balance all of this. The one that is not so much worrying, but we must be concerned about it also, is about poaching of our wildlife as well too. And so there's a need for us. I personally will be happy if someday I hear that the entire Forestry Commission staff, 100%, is comprised of military.
You think that could be a good step? So I want to talk about the wildlife.
It is to tell you that even if I should lose my job today because of that, I am ready for it, because I know that
you are prepared to put your job on the line
for that, because I believe that the military is the most disciplined and most feared,
they will ensure
strict adherence.
You heard that here from Elikem Kotoko at 9:08 on the 1st of October 2025. Now we've got a wildlife, you say, in the forest. What sort of wildlife are we talking about? Because you mentioned poaching, and that's quite.
Elephants, all kinds of animals you can make mention of. I'm told we have even lions.
Okay.
And I'm now able to mention most of the names. You know, the Bui Park, for instance, has also been breached. The the Mole Game Reserve, a very beautiful place to be at. Whenever I get the opportunity, I will recommend to you that imagine that all staff of Media General decide that every week we want to be contributing 5 cities or 10 cities each or whatever amount, and then decide to visit there. Then you come and see Forestry Commission. We may also be willing to give you a discount to see what you enjoy over there.
Okay.
These things provide for us for some recreational purposes and rejuvenation of our own life, that you've shifted environment and all of that. And mind you, where there is greener vegetation, life expectancy there will be higher and better compared to you and I in the city.
That could be an interesting drive for the Forestry Commission to encourage us, because sometimes we sit in our car, we sit in the office, for us to really see what beauty is out there that we are destroying, because we don't have that picture. We don't. Some people don't even know you can find lions there. There are animals that are going extinct, and so on and so forth. And these days, if you contribute to this, what we're talking about, reducing your carbon footsteps, there's some money to be made out of that.
A lot of money. I don't want to say much.
Isn't it?
A lot more. All I can say is that for anybody listening who wants to, just go read about carbon credits or the carbon market. There's a lot
there's a lot that we can recoup. Now,
there's a lot. And it's because people need to also know that it doesn't need you to come to Forestry Commission and all of that. There are a lot of things. I mean, these are just part of the UN SDGs, the 17 goals. So look in there. There's sanitation, there's life on earth, there's life in water, and all of these things. There are avenues we can know. It is just to improve life. It is to improve our own selves, and so people should embrace it.
I want to talk about the issue of kingpin kingpins. It comes up time without number. I recall the President of the Republic, when he was on the campaign trail, making the assertion that we can't continue to only pick up
this.
What do you call
the small
boys
while the
kingpins are there? What is the major barrier to actually identifying who a kingpin is? For example, who's bringing in the excavator, who's bringing in the mercury, and so on and so forth.
I even forgot that. So you realize that in the past, excavators were just passing through our ports and finding their ways in the bush. So one other very commendable step taken by the president, and through the recommendation of the sector ministers for transport and lands and natural resources, is to make sure we track all these. We register all excavators, one, so we know who imported them. We also put trackers on them so we can geofence them.
Okay.
And any that goes beyond. There's going to be future use of AI to also do most of this, because you can use drones to capture. So a lot of things are being put in place. Some of these are on need-to-know basis. As time goes, we'll roll them all out. These excavators and these kingpins, you see, the mining sector is somewhere. It's a place filled with so many myths as well too. You know that people say that gold grows, gold takes blood and all of these and all of that. So the people who even go and engage in these things with their kingpins, a lot of them take so many vows, be it blood covenant and what have you. And so when you grab these people and you expect them to talk, 99.9% of them refuse to talk, to give any leads to who their major financiers are. It is not easy though, but we are hopeful that we'll be cracking that whip as well too over time. Because now what, I don't need to say this, I nearly gave out something being done. But I can tell you that some are deliberately being tracked and monitored while we know they are embarked or engaging in the act. So
we've identified some of these people.
You don't want to arrest them now. We want to monitor them over time. So when they finish, where do they go? Who do they speak to? Where do they? So there's a lot going on. That is what I'm saying. Some of this is on need-to-know basis.
Okay.
And it is because, look, to have the president almost every week or two take briefing from the sector minister, and the minister himself almost every 3 days reaching out and giving directives or seeking information, tells you that you can't sleep on the job. You cannot. Look, let's face facts. President Mahama has come to power. I am very convinced you and I, and as well as those who are listening or watching, also can tell that he's walking the talk. The promises he's made, the national apprenticeship program, the big push, these and that, he's delivering on them. The CD has been stabilized. The major one now everybody's concerned about is what? Galamsey.
That's right.
That is what everybody's talking about now. So that is the last straw. That is the last one we must now be able to nip in the bud. And that would mean that he's done what he's promised to Ghanaians.
I want to ask about reforestation. What does that look like in practical terms? How long does it take? And what are the steps involved in that?
Well, apart from, we have reforestation, and reclamation is part of the reforestation process.
Okay.
But it also takes a lot. And when a place is mined and polluted, the soil needs to be tested for us to be restored to its state before then the reforestation. Now, don't also forget that it involves money anyways. It is the reason why we want to look at, I recall at a meeting where Senor Hosi proposed, and I agree with him, that we must put in a policy of destroyer pays. The destroyer must be made to pay heavily for the destruction that is caused. You've done the destruction, made your money. Now government has to go find money from donor sources to come and fund the process of reclamation and reforestation. It is the reason why, if you recall, on the 5th of March this year, President Mahama in Ashanti region at Nkawie launched the Tree for Life initiative, aimed at planting 30 million trees this year alone. That does not mean we should only plant on our streets, but in our farms, at our market, on the streets, in plantation, and our communities, and everywhere. But that alone is not enough. Monitoring to nurture these trees to grow is very important. And so he declared the month of June the month of planting of trees. But it does not mean it ends there. Look, as I speak with you, if 3FM, if Media General decides that, or we are still in the process doing that. Maybe I may write to you that we want to set a day aside to go somewhere and plant 100 trees or 500 trees. I would even recommend that we have a place even not necessarily at the airport, but when senior dignitaries or high-profile people visit this country, you take them somewhere to plant a tree and become some tourist center where if you also come, they said Bill Gates planted this tree, Dangote planted this one, John Mahama planted that one, and so forth and so on. So yes, there's a lot of efforts we need to do. And we are putting in all, and I must commend the Forestry Commission staff also for their dedication and commitment to seeing this through. In spite of the challenges that are faced internally, and every agency, every human institution will be faced with its challenges. Right. But if you believe strongly and are convinced in what your mandate is, you may ignore some of those and work hard. And that is what I see with the staff of Forestry Commission.
Certainly. Time check, it is some 16 minutes past the hour of 9. This is still 3FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. We go on a very quick break. When we come back, we wrap up this conversation with Elikem Kotoko, Deputy Chief Executive, Forestry Commission. Alrighty, we've gotten some great insights into the conversation about Galamsey. So don't go too far. We'll be back right after the spot of messages.
This October, Ghana's altar calls once again.
This is still 3FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Still in the studios with Eric Mawina Egbeta, as well as Elikem Kotoko, Deputy Chief Executive at the Forestry Commission. We've been having a conversation on the issue of our forests, also about Galamsey and the fight so far. I've gotten a question here, a very interesting one here. I hope that you can answer this one for us. This question says, what is the status of the Achimota Forest Reserve? Have the wills been revised?
Nobody is able to move in there. So there's a regime that would not tolerate that. But I'm very aware that our legal department and the other agencies are doing everything to make sure every single thing is reversed.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So
I used to share. I still share a funny joke that when I even walk into what is called Achimota Forest, sometimes I ask myself, is it Achimota Forest or Achimota Bush? Because it's supposed to be having trees of a certain height and all right. Of that. So we just virtually, but it still provides some kind of green that we need to protect.
Now, I'm not sure if we touched on this at the start of the conversation or somewhere, maybe in the middle, about your view on the state of emergency. During the press encounter, the president indicated that there are more tools in the toolbox. Of course, fast forward, we now have the security zones being declared. Now, what is your take on that, the state of emergency?
That is why I outlined the things that have been done. The very moment the president took over, he announced that there shall be no new licenses.
Okay.
Which means that we will not aggravate the situation.
Okay.
Number one. Number two, there will be the red zones. The 9 red zones were reclaimed and turned to green. Then number 3, excavators, for instance, also that are coming will be licensed and will be tracked to be geofenced.
Right.
Number 4, the minister kicked in motion a letter to consider a repeal of the LI 2462, which has been the major bane of contention because it allowed people to go into the forest. Number 5 was also to now declare the forests and water bodies as security zones. Look at these 5 strong points. And that aside also, there's been more arrests in these 8 months than there was in the past 8 years. And so that alone should tell you. I don't know if you recall, just about 2 weeks ago, we had to give the agri minister over 900 water pumping machines, which he went to give to farmers. As I speak with you, about 300 have been taken. We've taken possession of another 300. So there are constantly arrests going on. Like I told you, in the next hour or two also, there will be some, I don't know whether we'll call it breaking news or so, but there's some operation going on at some places against simultaneously, about 2 or 3 places, that when it is done, we'll get the updates and let the media be aware of it. Colonel Dominic Boa is doing very well with the NIMOS. So when you have seen all these things being done, then there's no need for a state of emergency. Because what is the meaning of a state of emergency? A state of emergency simply means that to give the president some extra powers to do things that he could not do hitherto. So the president could now use any form of force. And the greater effect is that many who are not part of this enterprise become the sufferers. So it looks as though state of emergency sounds nice in the ears of some people, and they are just everybody saying state of emergency, state of emergency. You ask them what exactly it means, they are not able to tell categorically what it means A, B, C, D. Because the president is rolling out look, declaring those places security zones is actually one of the things that would have been done if a state of emergency is declared. But in order not to breach too much of human rights, we should not do that. So why would people think that we should? And you see, the advocates for this just feel that, let's say, let it happen. Now, the conditions under which people were calling for that in the past do not prevail today. We are no more issuing licenses. We are no more allowing excavators to just go. We are considering repealing of the LI 2462 and all of this. So based on that, the president have said it. If it gets to that point, I will be the number one to declare. But currently, I am convinced what I am doing will solve the problem. And so I was impressed yesterday when I listened to lawyer Chachu Chikata, who many refer to as the law, yesterday on your sister station.
I think we played an excerpt of it.
And he made it also clear that people should be careful what they wish for. It's as though, it's just like how research in 2024 suggested that many youth are clamoring for coup d'etats in their countries, either because of their love for the military or discipline or indiscipline, that the decadence of discipline, or they just feel they have watched movies and want to see how it will look like. It is not a pleasant thing at all. And
I think it's a radical response to a problem.
Not only a radical, and extremely radical.
Yes.
And extremely radical. And the excesses may be more. And those excesses, forgive me, lives may even be lost in the process. How will you come and compensate for that? And then you again come and be saying that it was under his regime, he was this, he was that.
I hate to be crude. You know the song I played, Point and Kill. You know there are many Ghanaians who actually have that entrenched position that if you want to poison us, then, well, we will gladly see your demise. You know, people have actually said they want that. You know, and of course, they maybe don't think about the innocent civilians who could be caught in the crossfire, but it's that desire for this canker to be stopped that I think makes people say that.
It is the reason why the NIMOS approach is significant. And let me put on record once more. First, before that, let me commend the president again for writing to the CSOs to want to engage them on Friday. That is because he's realized that they have concerns. And as a president who feels that democracy means everybody is involved, let me listen to you. Now, everyone, I said this before, but let me repeat it. The National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, headed by Colonel Dominic Boa, is the only mandated force allowed to go into the forest, to work with the Forestry Commission and the other agencies to make sure we fight this Galamsey. No person, no group of persons should constitute themselves into task forces. Nobody should say we are national security. If you are national security, whatever, any information you have, kindly relay it to the NIMOS. Then they will take action from there. We do not want to have uncoordinated efforts being made. Then there will begin to be some rumors or speculations or accusations of maybe extortion or these or malpractice or misconduct, and we are not able to trace them very well. It is to ensure discipline, coordinated effort at fighting this canker. As I speak with you, the president ought to be commended today that as we speak, our inmates have had their allocation of 1 CD, 80 pesos worth a day, moved cities by over how many, 700% or so or whatever, to 5 cities. Even though it's a good thing, many still are concerned about the main problem, which is what I stand for and I'm here for.
There's something that you said, Elikem, that has now sparked a few questions coming your direction. This idea that the Forestry Commission should have military in there. You talked about even willingly losing your jobs. It's raised a few eyebrows in the comments. Would you say that the staff are not equipped to deal with the issue? That's quite a statement to make.
Because in dealing with protecting state assets like that, like the forestry services or the forests and the water bodies, you see, if the military man is deployed into the forest, it is no news. He's already built for that. He was trained for that. Yes, we have the rapid response team who also have some paramilitary training and all of that, but they are not fully equipped like the military will be. So, and our neighboring countries, all over, they are largely military because we understand what it means. Imagine all as we speak. Why are we worried now? Because all our water bodies have been polluted.
That's right.
It is affecting our health. The forests are being depleted. That means the last tree is about to die for the last man to die. So these things must be well protected. And no other person can do that than the military. No other person can do that than the soldier. And we agree also that everybody fears the military more than any other.
That's why you're advocating that.
Yes.
that
and it's the case in our neighboring countries also. So it will not be a bad idea.
All right. Well, I hope for our listener that has provided some, I guess, some clarity on that issue. But I want to ask, though, what do you say to Ghanaians who believe that this fight against Galamsey is A, a waste of time, and B, destined to fail? Some people have lost all faith. Some people have lost all trust that this is something that we can finally get a hold of as a people. I want you to weigh in on that, and then we can wrap up.
I think the fight is a real one because we can see for ourselves the effect of the Galamsey. So it cannot be that we are firefighting or we are pretending to be fighting, and no, it cannot be. And not especially when you have a president in someone like His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and not when you have a minister like Honorable Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa, who also believes that it's an onerous task put on him because the president trusts that he is the right person who can help him fight this canker. So this is not a charade. This is no joke. And that's what I'm telling you. And I think I repeated this right from Monday, last week or so, on the sister station, that subsequent days will be revealing a lot. A lot will be unfolding. It will be telling you the actions of NIMOS and all that. And don't forget, one other thing also is that we need to be briefing the media constantly on what is happening, development and all of that, so that when NIMOS makes arrests and all this, it is put out there. We are even looking forward to, we hope to get some budgetary confirmations to even have a Forest TV. And that would allow us to constantly not only update you on arrests and all that, but educate you. So if it's every fortnight, every week, or even every day, there's something on Forest TV to tell you about the environment, the forest, the water, the all
bring
of
it
that.
to us. We'll play it for you here. No need to set up all of that. We'll find a slot for you easily, both on TV and on radio.
So I can tell you, there's a studio in making, and we are working on that.
Okay.
So I've just let a small cut out of the
small teaser. You've got the
Small
appetite.
one.
Because also when Beatrice was here, she said, okay, the month of October, when it comes to certain prosecutions and court actions,
I just told you, the minister has has spoken to the Attorney General for the immediate prosecution of some of these, to deter the 9 guns who were arrested. They are in Accra as I speak. So,
because I mean, this is just by oral. You know, people are still, the pressure.
That thing, Ghanaians, and you see, it tells you one thing, that one of the reasons that Ghanaians voted for President Mahama is that the scandals, the corruption in the previous regime was just too much. It reached a height where there was even intimidation, so the media could not even speak or report on it, because immediately you do, even the president could pass a comment on Independence Day that suggests that, hey, watch what you say, I'm not happy what you're saying. So it tells that many Ghanaians voted because they saw the rot, they felt it, they could see the arrogance and all of this, and they applauded the president for the oral, and the oral would not fail. It, however, requires diligence, so that you don't just hurriedly prepare a docket, go and fail. So it requires diligence. And so, unlike people who will rush into implementation of things, President Mahama will rather want to take time and make sure he delivers on point and not miss it.
Certainly, man. I think
final question. Yeah. What will be a successful Galamsey fight? What will be success for you? And if there are timelines as well, what will be these timelines that you're looking at?
A successful Galamsey fight will be visible when we begin to now see that there's a visible reduction in the illegal mining.
Okay.
1. when there's also the water turbidity begins to improve, and you now begin to see for yourself that this is happening. And 3, that is why I said we need to constantly keep updating you, to report to you what is happening. For instance, a total of 1,278 small-scale licenses were being reviewed some while ago. The Deputy Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Suleiman, the Minister, the MP for Boli, is the one heading that. And out of these, 316 were so far adjudged to be clean. About 962 had issues, out of which 55 have been revoked already.
So their mining license is being revoked.
It's been revoked. And now as we speak, we have an outstanding 907 that are awaiting revocation, because if they are not able to meet. So when they are done, this will be put out for you. And this tells you that, hey, we will not get to anywhere and you will not have any license or permit and be doing that. You know, even recently, the minister again suggested that he even want to begin to recommend that the 100 meters distance to be kept buffer should be extended to 1 kilometer. Yes, that is how he wants to go. So that when you are found anywhere close, you must have enough good reason to get yourself out of trouble. Yes.
Certainly, we're grateful for your time this morning and for shedding some more light into the conversation about Galamsey and what efforts are being put in place to ensure that the citizenry no longer has to ingest poison on a daily basis. Elikem Kotoko is Deputy Chief Executive, Forestry Commission.
Can I pass the last statement?
Yes.
While we are doing that, there's a little achievement also.
Okay.
Ghana is now the first country in Africa and the second in the world to have signed on to what we call FLEGT. FLEGT, Forest Law Enforcement Governance Trade. All this means is that the EU is saying that before we can trade with you legally and to trust you, every tree or every timber that you transport, you ship to the European Union, it must be traceable. And there should be evidence that it is traceable, that it was felled from this place, and there has been effort to also replace that tree. Because you know these luxurious vehicles and all that use wood to make their cars. Imagine an automaker buys wood to make their car, only for the next day Eric takes them to court that the tree that you used for your car was felled from my compartment and it was illegally felled. I can take you to court and win it from that.
That's a very exciting
we are first in Africa, and this started from 2009 during the era of the late President Atta Mills. So you can imagine how long it has taken for us to. So there's a will to get things done, to leave a legacy, and to show achievements.
I look forward to us having another conversation on that to expand that. Today our focus was on Galamsey, but there's a lot to talk about when it comes to timber
market
and all of that. What's going on with teak and the likes, and it's another conversation. Like, I'm always grateful for your time. It is some 22 minutes. Right here on 3FM Sunrise, on 3FM 92.7, and hello, Ghana. It's that time of the year. Raise your steins for the Oktoberfest Beer Festival. Ghana's premier 5-star hotel and your CIMG hospitality facility of the year. Labadi Beach Hotel brings you another exciting edition of the biggest beer festival in the world. And that's Oktoberfest 2025. Performing live once again in Ghana is the Bayern Boys Band, and they're coming all the way from Germany. Make sure you catch all the action with traditional German food and beers happening on Friday the 3rd and the 4th of October 2025 at the magnificent Adisa Pavilion. October Fest Beer Festival 2025 is proudly supported by Media General, Brussels Airline, Multimedia Group, Guinness Ghana, Accra Brewery and Heritage. For enquiries and reservations, do call 054-010-995 or 0244-747-670. It's October Fest Beer